Welcome to the WAGScast, a unique platform for empowering women and inspiring change, brought to you by Care Talks Women Achieving Greatness in Social Care Awards.
Hi everybody, welcome to episode 6 of the WAGScast, Batteries Not Included, Burnout at Work, Caring for Your Carers. And today we're going to talk about women's wellbeing and burnout. And I think it's quite interesting to go to some of the stats. But first, I'm really glad to be joined by Kam Gill from Walfinch, Registered Manager, which is a really important role, and we could touch on that later about some of the pressure points there. And Lara Bywater, Director LDC Care Co and a Director of the Outstanding Society. And I'm Kathy Roberts, Chief Exec of the Association of Mental Health Providers. We know that women make up around 80% of the workforce within adult social care, and that's been a pretty static figure since around 2012. Slightly more, the male population within adult social care is rising, but not to the same as women, is around 80%. And a really established workforce in adult social care of about 1.4 million, and directly employed, obviously, within local authority, the independent sector, direct payments, etc. And obviously, there's some concern around that around 5.9 sickness days within adult social care, and a high proportion of women who take time off work because of stress, anxiety, and burnout, and that's around 8.1 million days per organisation, I think, days lost. So, I mean, we know that it's really important that we look at women's health and preventing burnout. But both for the individual, the person, ourselves as women, but also for the people, the relational, the really important aspects of that, but within adult social care, the relational aspect of the work and the impact on people being supported, and of organisations, and the need to want to get it right. And I think it's good if we can sort of think about a few areas here. So I was thinking, what do you think are the early signs of burnout for women in the social care sector? How can we respond and recognise those before it becomes a serious issue for the women involved? Kam, can I ask you?
Yeah, so I think it's looking at like the telltale signs, somebody who's 100% attendance and really proactive, and clients are always complimenting how well this support them and everything, and then all of a sudden you see there's so many sick days, they're not completing tasks, and they might be irritable, and just like a lot of negativity and stuff like that. So I think when we start seeing those sort of signs, we would sort of question, invite the person in and check in with them and see, what's going on, because, as a woman, there's always something, isn't there, happening in the background. We're still trying to give our 110% at work, but there might be other things. So I think it's looking at those sort of signs.
I think Kam's covered a lot of what we would say. I think for us, it's also that relationship stuff within the workplace. So we try and pick up on the very soft signs of knowing somebody really well. Teams work really, really closely together. Yeah. And I think they can often be an advocate for their colleagues and bring forward if they've got concerns, and to actually take those observations, thoughts on board, even if they're not warranted. I think it still makes us all feel better to know that people are looking out for us. I think one that might be slightly controversial, because I'm all about people being who they want to be, but if you see appearance changes in somebody as well, if somebody's always really well groomed, or always wears nice clothes, has their nails done, or if there's something different about their physical appearance, or if they look ill, if they look tired, I think it's really important that we're taking notice of those signs and not being afraid to find a way to discreetly and in a dignified way to actually have those conversations with people in a way that's comfortable for them.
Yeah, I think if we can touch on that later, I think that's a really good point about how that sort of environment and how it's a safe space to do that is really important. And have you found things like detachment from the role, or a little bit? You were saying obviously about people behaving is a bad word, isn't it? But maybe presenting very differently to how they are. And have you found that detachment is part of that?
Yeah, I think that people detach in different ways, don't they? So it's about knowing people. And I always go back to how it's so important for us all to have professional but close relationships at work, so that we know that true person in their work presentation, so you can pick up on those softer signs. For one person, it might be that they're always 10 minutes early for starting work, and they're suddenly late every day, or those really subtle things. And then you find out actually their car's been broken and they've been getting 3 buses and a taxi and a train to work, and actually not asking for help. So it doesn't always have to be something really, really impactful or significant, but it can be hugely impactful and significant on that individual. And that then starts to take a toll on those individuals.
Why do you think women in particular experience more burnout? I know we've talked about more women working within the adult social care sector, but what unique challenges do you think that they face in maintaining that sort of healthy work-life balance? What do you think is kind of more unique for women?
So I think it's obviously as a woman, and some, my previous experience, when my kids, I'm trying to do the best I can at home, but also ensure that I'm doing the same at work. So, when my kids were younger, I'd have to ensure that, before going to work, I've done everything at home. I've got their packed lunch ready, their bags are packed and all that, so that when I get to work, I don't have that stress of that something I haven't done right or missed. And then when you're at work, again, you've got to give you 110%. And, so I think, now when, we've got carers, we need to ensure that, if they're doing the school run, they've got, they can't start before a certain time. So our sort of model, we don't start visits before 8 o'clock, just for that sort of reason. So they can drop them to breakfast club or do the school drop off and stuff like that. So I think just trying to look at those sides of things, majority, because 80% of our workforce is women, and that is a big problem we have, is that a lot of the mums still want to be able to do those pickups and drop offs and go do the after school clubs and all of that. So I think it's looking at all of those sort of things is really important, because they don't want to, just because they're a mum, they don't want to be able to give up work. They want to still be able to go out and have their own independence and do the work that they love. And obviously this field gives them that flexibility to do all of those things. They're not going to be able to do that in every job. And also the pay side of things, they're working so hard. The pay side, you get compared by their partner who might be doing a 9-to-5 job, and they're not, but the importance of their job is no less than their spouse and stuff.
Yeah, it's a very caring, as I said before, very relational role as well within adult social care, isn't it? Whether you're male or female, and that is really important to build those relationships, which takes time, and also around juggling everything else, like juggling dinner sets, isn't it, in a way? Lara, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Kam makes some really valid points. Interestingly, and we're sort of slightly unique, we have 52% of our workforce are men. And I don't necessarily know why, just because we're a really fun place to work. I think that it's a whole journey for women, and we often talk, and Kam's absolutely correct, that there are responsibilities that come with childcare, and even in 2024, much of that frequently, although I would say less so, falls on the shoulders of a female partner in a heterosexual partnership. What we have done is we've actually really encouraged men to also apply for flexible working requests, so that we're actually subtly empowering women to not always be the person doing the doing. But I'd also observe that it's not just around childcare. People, and frequently women, also have, particularly, I'm now in my 50s, have aging parents and are taking on caring responsibilities for my own family. And I see that with colleagues that I've worked with who are of a similar age cohort to me, that our responsibilities do change. And there's also the M word, the menopausal challenge that women face, and all of those hormonal imbalances that women do face throughout their entire life, whether that's being teenagers in their 20s, childbearing years, etc., etc. So I think we need to look at the whole gambit of the challenges that face women. But I do advocate for encouraging the women that work for us to encourage their partners to put in those requests to take on that responsibility. And I think that's a subtle thing. And it's obviously down to individuals. We're not dictating. But I have seen a change, and actually it's been a real positive for some of those families to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's frustrating whenever a child a school calls, because your child is ill, they always call, or it's always the mum that has to go. And even though in this field, we're caring for people, still, it's the mums who say, well, I'm sorry, I won't be able to complete my shift because I've got to go and pick up. And it's very rarely that the mums will go, it'll be the dad that will go, which is still not changed. I do have one carer who has started saying that, my husband now realizes that it's easier for him to get his work covered or stay at home rather than for her, because she's got because he's now attending events and seeing the sort of things they do. So I think if there's a bit more education to the people and partners, I think there'd be a bit of change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking, you were mentioning sort of the menopause, which is quite a key area, and majority of women working in adult social care are 45 years old or above, and I think 29% of the workforce is over 55. And so you're right, I think there is, we're a lot more recognition of the impact of menopause, but also you raise a really good point about around the age group of 55. It's that sandwich, isn't it, around the supporting caring role, both for parents and family of choice, and children, and in fact grandchildren, I think. So there is a kind of there is that is a very good thing to think about how that support for menopausal women as well. And I am glad there's a lot more recognition now. So what practical steps do you think organisations can take to create more of an effective support groups for women, and also that kind of work-life balance, that sort of balance between addressing and supporting the personal side and the work professional side, sort of get that balance right? What practical steps can organisations take? We know there's some organisations doing some really good work.
I love to be able to, one of my big passions, aside from obviously the support we provide to the people we're commissioned to care for, is to be able to see the people that we employ actually evolve and step into themselves and achieve whatever those achievements and goals are that they set for themselves. So I really, really love being able to celebrate women who, particularly if they maybe have started a second or third career in their 30s or 40s, who come to us and say, I've never done this before. And we always say, well, actually, transferable skills, you've probably spent your whole life caring in some way or another.
Yeah.
And to actually see them step into that role, take up the challenge of training that they may have been disengaged with when they were younger, to embrace technology that may not have been around for their younger years, to actually to start a career and to take pride in what they're doing. And I'm really proud that we've got 15 registered managers within our organisation, and several of them are older women who have said, absolutely not, I can't do it, I'm just, I hate it, hate the phrase, should be banned, I'm just a carer, no such thing. Carers are people with superpowers, so we need to absolutely embrace that. One of the things, that practical things that we do, because there is that confidence and self-belief challenge, is we offer people the opportunity to take on additional responsibility under a secondment type arrangement. which means people feel slightly protected. I think it's slightly less scary than taking on the whole role, full belt and braces. So I think that's a really nice way to ease somebody into a new role if they're not necessarily confident. I'm reflecting on a woman who's the same age as me, who came to work for us because her daughter enjoyed it so much, and she has now worked her way up through the different levels over the last 3 years and has just completed a secondment of being a registered manager and is now a registered manager. And she sent me a lovely note the other day saying, I never thought I could be anything. You know, she's an awesome person. She's fantastic at her job. And it's that self-belief, which leads me into another area of celebration. So we take every opportunity to celebrate the achievements and the successes of everybody that works for us, whether that's entering national awards. And congratulations, Kam, I know you won one recently. It's a really great thing to do. But we've taken it a step further this year, and we've now created our own awards ceremony, which is a really nice way for people to be able to celebrate their achievements. And we made the unusual step in this day and age of including people that were invited to the awards ceremony to invite a +1, whether that was their mum, their partner, their child, their best mate, person that lives next door to them. So they were able to bring a +1. And I think there's so much around boosting people's self-esteem. And isn't it a wonderful moment to actually be at an event with somebody who's not necessarily part of the organisation saying, oh my gosh, you are the best at this in your organisation. So I think those moments, they're hard to create, and they take perhaps months and years of thinking and trialing, but they have such an impact on people, and they act as amazing role models for other people coming through.
Like we've all, hopefully we've all had days where we've felt absolutely fantastic about what we do and how we do it, and working with people, and the joy of seeing people succeed. Also, about what do you think of the sort of areas where somebody can maybe come in and say, actually, I'm really great at work, but something is really affecting me personally, and it's affecting my work. Is there a way that organisations can have that space as well, do you think?
Well, we deal with quite a lot of things like that. So we obviously, I like to talk, and I like to, we have a lot of like get-togethers within the office where we invite our carers and loved ones, in for little coffee mornings or staff meetings and stuff where we discuss a number of things, but also our carers know that there's an open door policy here. They can come in at any point, and not just about work, but their personal stuff. So for example, in the past we've had somebody come in due to some issues they're having with their child and trying to get them diagnosed with something, and he was going to become homeless. So we gave her all of the the relevant details and support numbers and stuff, and gave her the space and time in the office, helped her contact people, arrange things so that she was supported. She was in a bit of a difficult relationship with her partner, so in order for her to be able to have that support. So she came in on from her day off. She lived in Bicester. She drove 15 minutes to come to the office, and I said, oh, aren't you on leave? She goes, I need your help. And that's all she had to say. We have a private area, we sit there, there was me and my colleague, and we helped her through. But I think I think everyone, like within our team, we've got a nice little team, our cultures, we have fun, but obviously not every day can be fun. There's always other things that happen, but they all know that if there's a problem, they can come and talk. Somebody's come out of a relationship, or they're having a difficult time with family member or wherever. We even get clients' family members sometimes call and just want to have because obviously we're dealing with a client and then a number of children, and the siblings might have issues and stuff. So we're trying to sort of figure out a plan there to help everyone communicate. So it's sort of trying to find ways of opening lines of communication.
Yeah, and what do you think as leaders in social care? What do you think leaders can learn? So you've both been saying that it is really true and really brilliant, but what do you think leaders can learn around their workplace culture? I mean, there's still a little bit of stigma, isn't there, about mental well-being and not being able to cope as it's perceived. Well, naturally, as we said, you're juggling a tremendous amount of stuff. And what do you think leaders in social care need to sort of, what can they learn or what can they take forward, do you think, to sort of foster more of that culture of being able to encourage open dialogue and on mental health and burnout, so that it becomes that people feel more confident to air some of their concerns?
And I think that being really authentic is probably the key to being a good leader. And actually, as you said, we've all had good and bad days. As a family at the moment, we're going through a pretty tricky patch with my mum's health. And I've been really transparent with my colleagues at work, who all report to me about the challenges I'm facing, and they're now supporting me. And actually, although that felt quite scary to be completely transparent and honest with them, and I felt quite vulnerable doing it, I now feel so empowered because they have been able to lift me up on darker days. So I do think there's something about that integrity, authenticity, transparency. And I think it gives people permission to be human, to be flawed, to be vulnerable, to have those bad days. And I just really hope that everybody in my organisation feels the same way. When we were much smaller, we now employ over 500 people. It was really easy to keep kind of tabs on individuals. So trying to keep that culture cascaded through really has to come from the entire leadership team, that we all feel empowered to do that. Like Kam, we have a head office, and it's an unintended consequence, but it's become a bit of a hub for people to come and say, I need help, or I'm struggling with this. And we'll either try and help people to signpost them to additional support, or if it's a gift that we can give them, then we will try and help them from our perspective. But I think it's easier to instill those behaviours in a positive way. So what we've done is we've created, my mum set the business up 25 years ago, and I was able to watch her be really supportive to people all those years ago as she was setting it up and working around the clock to get the business going. But she would always do the right thing. And it's something we talk a lot about in our organisation, just do the right thing. So if a mum needed to go home or a dad needed to go home, she would try and find a way to do it. One of the biggest memories I have of those very early days is we had a fantastic member of the team, and she had 6 children but held down a full-time job. And it was those soft signs, she started to look and act a little bit differently. And mum sat down with her and said, well, what's going on? What's up? And her washing machine was broken. She had 6 children and a husband who wasn't necessarily at that time particularly well versed in household chores. So mum bought her a new washing machine. And that, although it was quite a big outlay, completely transformed her life. So we've tried to maintain that same level of support. We've created something called WAG cards, which is random act of gratitude. So we've done it in a positive way, but they can be used for all sorts of things. So people of deputy manager and above in our organisation, they have the ability to either recognise somebody who is going through a tough time or has done something extraordinary, and to be actually able to buy them a token, or if it's something more significant, they can go through the sort of different layers very quickly and have approved a different level of money spend to be authorised, so that we're creating that culture. And I think by creating those relationships, those family-based relationships, we're creating a situation where there's trust, where people are more likely to be able to come to us and say, actually, my landlord's just doubled my rent, I'm going to be homeless by the end of the month, what can I do? Some other subtle things we've done is, I can remember in days gone past, people coming saying, oh, my tyres burst, I need money, or something, and they had to kind of justify where they needed money. So we, and I know lots of other organisations have done it, have created one of these platforms where people can access their money earlier if they need to, without having to come cap in hand and ask for early advance on their wages or a small loan, etc. So we've done that so that it keeps people's dignity and privacy. If they want it, if they want to be able to share that with us, that's also fine. And I think there are many ways that we can enable people to do that. Another subtle thing is we've stopped calling what the industry and CQC refer to as supervisions. We call them R&R. So we have a review and reflect. So we're not supervising, we're not doing things to people. We're trying to actually be on the same level. We've stopped people, we're trying, and I still fall into it, so hands up, guilty. We're trying to stop calling our colleagues staff, because I think that that's a loaded word and it has a power dynamic that can be uncomfortable. So we're trying to call everybody team members to take away that hierarchy. So there's lots of subtle things I think that can be done.
Yeah, so we still call our things supervisions, which I think they're very important, because obviously, I think it's important to review before they come in, the last few, are we on target? So if things are not going well, is it because we've not followed through something or something slipped through the cracks and stuff? So I think it's important to see if, keep on track, or has something changed? And, I think also showing them our own vulnerability is good, because it makes them comfortable to come and express themselves. And I think because we do a lot of work with the team, so they have group little hubs, so we've got in each area there are little groups, so I think they all stick together. So if there is an issue, they will help each other, and if they need us to step in, they will let us know. And I think that's really comfortable. So we have a lot of team bonding sessions, going out for drinks or bowling or whatever, where everybody can let their hair down and just have fun. And if there isn't somebody having fun, that something's not right there, because this person's usually really proactive and enjoying themselves and stuff. So I think those are good. And we do quite a few surveys and stuff. So, if somebody's come back saying that they wouldn't recommend us to a friend, that something's not right there, and you need to sort of action things, pick up, is it that they're just annoyed this month because, I don't know, their rota was wrong or whatever, so it's important to pick up on early signs and find out what it is that's not working right. And we, like Lara, we've got quite a few members of staff that are a lot older, in their 60s or whatever, and doing new things, using technology, using different systems. And it's really good, how much they enjoy it, and they're like, oh wow, I was retiring and going to sit at home, and I've actually come out, I'm having fun and learning new things. There's the younger carers that come in and come up with all these stories, and they're just looking at them amazed, and how she's juggling. She's worked this many hours, now she's going out tonight, and she's going to be back at work in the morning. How does she do it? And so it's just nice sharing stories and stuff. And I think those little stories, they come in. I think it sometimes it really puts a different side things onto everybody.
And I think when you're talking about the environment, and that environment around that being able to be open and to be sharing, when you develop that environment, and we know that predominantly we're a women's-based workforce across adult social care, and that environment, the right trust, the right openness, the right leadership, the right sort of support groups and one-to-ones, etc. When we really concentrate on people, I mean, we support people, but our workforce is people, and that translates, doesn't it, to male and female. It's really important. And maybe, and I know this WAGScast isn't focusing on men, but we know that men maybe aren't kind of as much into the peer support and talking about some of their sort of issues around burnout or anxiety and depression as maybe women are within those environments. So I think it's a really, really good point. I'm going to go a bit into the kind of actually running the businesses as well within all of that at the moment, because we were talking really early on about the effects on women personally, and the effects obviously on people who are supported, who maybe somebody is off work because they've got burnout or anxiety, depression, and then that's effect then on the business, and then that's kind of that balance about being able to run an organisation that offers care and support, And with ongoing workforce shortages, the increase in demand on social care, which there is, it's that balance. How do we ensure that balance of well-being of the staff, particularly women in this instance, and prioritise that without compromising the sort of quality of care and to the people who draw on services?
So for us, I think, for us to recruit 5 carers is really hard, and to lose 5 carers is really easy. So it's important that the staff that you have, you really look after them. Staff retention is very key. That's something we've been really good at from the beginning. And, I've been coaching my team to, continue with that. So, you can't be bombarding them with, really, busy rotas. They need to ensure they have time off. So obviously we've got a few sponsored carers, and they're always saying, oh, I'll work 7 days and all of that. And I have spoken to my coordinator, and I speak to the carer, and I said, look, I understand you want the hours, and we will, ensure that you get enough, but it's really important that you do take time off, because you will burn out, and that's not good. Obviously I understand they want to send money home, and they've got bills, and obviously they have commitments. So I think, we find ways of helping them, having they have the longer visits or whatever. So I think it's finding what's going to work, giving people rotas at work for them. So if somebody has requested that I need every Friday night off because I'm taking my son football, or it's cinema evening with the family, or whatever it might be, I think we need to be listening to the staff and figuring out a plan. I mean, I don't bombard them. We won't take on extra work because if we don't have the capacity. So I think it's about ensuring that we're balancing everything. If we don't have happy carers, we're not going to have a successful business. We're not going to be able to provide quality care. So it's really important. They're like gold dust. So we've got to really protect them and look after them, and that's the only way forward.
And that kind of what you said then, sort of losing a member of staff is easy, recruiting is really hard,
and it's a long process. Recruiting one carer is a minimum of 4 weeks. You've got wait for their DBS, you've got to train them, they've got to shadow, they've got to feel comfortable to go out there on their own, and it's a really lonely job. So we need to ensure that we're touching base with them regularly and making sure they're okay. If we're not doing any of those things, they're going to go to the next company that might be paying 50p more. So we've got to be able to do things differently, do the things well, and keep them happy. And if they're not, find out. If somebody comes to me and say that they're leaving, I take that personally, because what why, what the hell have I done wrong? Hang on a minute. So I talk to the team that but obviously if it's they're relocating, whatever, but I take things personally, because I don't want to have any of my team that's not happy. And if there's certain things that we can't control, but I think it's important that we're looking at everything all the time.
And retention levels, turnover can be as quite high in adult social care as well, isn't it? So juggling that as well as the well-being of the workforce, and actually managing to support care and support the people who are drawing on the services. Lara?
Yeah, I was going to say retention is so important, and I agree with what you've said there, Kam. I think it's really important that we look at that. I'll take the opportunity to talk a little bit about how we onboard people. So we recognise how significant it is for somebody to choose to come and work with us, and it's a really big commitment, and we're really grateful to them. But we try and make it a really lovely process for them. So we do some really subtle things, like we have the most amazing recruitment team, and they will stay in contact with that person prior to them even walking in the door, with text messages if that's appropriate. They'll send a postcard saying, we can't wait for you to come and join us. On the first day, when I joined the OS, the first time I went to a face-to-face meeting, it took me back to how scary it is to start something new for the first time. Am I going to be late? Am I going to the right place? Am I in the right building? Am I in the right room? Am I wearing the right clothes? So we try and take away all of those anxieties. We've got screeners in the hub where we straight away say welcome to all the names of the inductees. Every couple of weeks we run a rolling induction program every 2 weeks, and as part of our interview process, something that we picked up from Neil Eastwood, wasn't our idea, but we stole it because he loved sharing his great ideas, is we always ask people in their interview, what's your favourite chocolate bar or snack? And on their desk, we have, if it's a Bounty, a packet of salt and vinegar crisps, whatever it is, it's on their desk with their name, so that we're straight away saying you are in the right place on the right day at the right time. As part of the first day of the induction, we offer to create a WhatsApp group that's monitored by one of our registered managers and one of our operational managers, where people can ask the stuff that they're frightened to say out loud because they're the new people. So am I in the right, what time is it tomorrow? What's everyone wearing? Is anyone else worried about the first aid training? Is anybody concerned about using this technology? So they can have these conversations within a WhatsApp group that is monitored. And we did show CQC as part of our inspection, and that they could see that it's a nice way to create another support mechanism for people. And people want to belong to something, so that they're part of a team from day one, and that becomes part of the way we work throughout the organisation. So when people are then embedded in a team, that team will have a WhatsApp group, and it's a bit like the old communication books in a way. So we can share information quickly and update people, but we can also say, oh, happy birthday to somebody, or well done, you've done 6 months today, or I hear you passed such and such training course. So it becomes a really nice mechanism for people.
I don't know if either of you wanted to add anything else that you think is really important. I mean, it's really good to talk about women's health and prevention of burnout and what is in place within the adult social care sector, because retaining our workforce is massively important, and retaining the right workforce with the passion that we have in adult social care. It always never ceases to amaze me how much passion and drive, seeing it's not a high paid job, is it? But you have that passion and drive and dedication from the workforce.
Yeah, people don't come into care for the pay, do they?
No, they don't. No.
I think something I'd say, Kathy, is that I think it's really important for us as leaders in the sector to keep saying those positive things about being in social care and how it is an awesome place to have a career. It's not necessarily just a job, another phrase I hate, and to celebrate and share those opportunities for people to progress, to showcase career development opportunities. There are so many different tools now for people to be able to access training and progression, so much more than when I was at school, where it was literally a blackboard and you sat there and you opened the textbook and they read to you, and then you suddenly had to understand how to do a chemical equation and an experiment the following week and hope it didn't blow up the chemistry lab. So it's kind of, things are so different now, and with different learning styles, different ways of learning, different opportunities. I think it's created a real opportunity for people who perhaps thought they weren't going to have a career to have a career. And I love the fact that so many people can do that. And the other thing I would say is that us as probably senior people in our own organisations need to find our own support networks. I shared earlier on that I'd shared around my vulnerabilities with my team, but also for that day-to-day stress, it's really important that we have our own networks. And something that the WAGS has done has created this most incredible network of people who automatically get the stresses that we're under. And we have to look after ourselves as well. Otherwise, we fall over and everybody else follows, a bit like a domino chain. So I think that's really important. And I thank all of the people in the WAGS network, because they provide laughter, fun, but actually support, knowledge, wisdom, guidance, all of those things when I'm looking for it. So I think we really need to celebrate how important having our own ways of looking after ourselves are as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they've got an MBA in real life, experiences. So it's really important to be able to access those sort of organizations for support.
Yeah. Well, thank you both very much. I mean, a wonderful place to stop.